Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl, and today I'm doing the Rapid Fire Book Tag. I was tagged quite a while ago by Reading Ideas. I haven't read through all of the questions, so hopefully I will be able to give the rapid fire type answers. Number 1, ebook or physical book. That is 100% physical book. I actually have a really hard time reading on any kind of a screen. I can read short little things on computers or phones, but if I ever have to read anything that is longer online, I will usually print it out. I would have a very hard time reading an entire book on an ebook of any kind. Number 2, paperback or hardbacks. I actually prefer paperback. I have a lot of hardback books, and when I am really looking forward to a book, if there is no other option, I will definitely get it in hardback. And I like hardbacks. I feel like sometimes they are nicer, they'll maybe last longer, and most of my hardbacks stay in better condition, I think. But I love the way a paperback feels, especially a floppy paperback. And I'm assuming most of you know what I mean by that, but you know when a paperback just flops open perfectly, the spine is meant to have it do that. I love that. Number 3, online or in-store book shopping. I think I do online book shopping more, but I definitely prefer in-store. Because there is just something so fun about going into a bookstore and picking out the book, having it in your hands right away. I would do that all the time if I could, but I have found that a lot of the books I want, I cannot find in any stores around here. Number 5, heroes or villains. Definitely heroes, but I also love when an author can really write someone that you love to hate so well. I feel like that's just as important of a skill in an author as writing a really good hero. But then, of course, I love the heroes. Well, most of the time. There probably have been times when I liked somebody that was maybe a morally gray character or more of a villain. Like in the Avengers, I like Loki. So, I don't know. Number 6, a book you want everyone to read. Well, I would say the Bible. I would say Anne of Green Gables. And I would say Harry Potter. Number 7, recommend an underrated book. My mind immediately goes to one of my very favorite books as a child. That was my other favorite book besides Anne of Green Gables when I was a little girl. And it was called The Family Nobody Wanted by Helen Doss. And she was a woman who was married to a pastor and they adopted a bunch of children. But I have not read that recently. It has been on my TBR cart to reread for probably over a year now. And eventually I am going to get back to it. But if it is as good as I remember it being, then I would say that because I've never actually talked to anyone else in my entire life that read that book. So if you've read it, let me know because I would love to know if anyone else has read that book. And it wasn't a children's book. It was a memoir. Helen Doss was writing it about her own family. I remember thinking it was an adult book. So when I read it again, I'll find out because it's been so many years since I read it. But I know I did my big 4th grade book report on that book. Number 8, the last book you finished. That was Anne of Green Gables. Number 9, the last book you bought. The last book I bought was The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. But I didn't technically buy it because I used Amazon credit for it. So I did buy it. I've been trying very hard not to buy any books in January. And so I only allowed myself to buy it because I had Amazon credit. And I decided that didn't count. But I think that counts for this question. Number 10, the weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark. I know in high school, a couple of times I used to use gum wrappers because I chewed gum then. I feel like I've used pens and things like that. I can't think of anything that's really, really weird. Because when I was younger, I did dog ear pages. And it's only been in the last probably 15 or so years that I've stopped doing that and only using bookmarks and getting annoyed at myself for having dog-eared pages. So that's all I can think of is just if there was some kind of a receipt or something like that lying around. Number 11, used books, yes or no? Yes. I love both used and new. I don't want to have all my books be used, but I do enjoy used books as well. So it really depends on the condition of the book. If it is, fairly used, if it's pretty good condition, then I'm good with it. Number 12, top 3 favorite genres. I would say that would have to be historical fiction, classics, and the third one would probably be a tie of middle grade and nonfiction. Number 13, borrow or buy. I think I would prefer buying. I don't have a library right now, so I can't really borrow anyway. But as much as I liked being able to have a library and to borrow books, I do like owning the books that I love. So if it is a book that I really love and I want on my shelves, I do want it there. Number 14, character or plot. That is a hard one because you can read a book that is about really great characters that doesn't really seem to be about much of anything. But if you're just learning about the character, I can love that. And I can read a book that has a really strong plot where you don't want to put it down, but you don't care as much about the characters, and I can still enjoy that. But I think most of us would prefer books that have really strong characters with a really strong plot. That's so hard because I don't know if I would care as much about really great characters if I don't care what's happening in the story. That's one that I'm having a really hard time deciding. I don't know what I think is more important. I think when it really comes down to it, I want to care about the characters, to really care about the characters, whether that means liking them or disliking them. So I'm going to have to say characters. Number 15, long or short books. This has changed. When I was in my early 20s to early 30s, I loved really, really long books. I was reading more fantasy books then, and so that might be why. I used to feel like the closer to 1,000 pages it was, the more I was going to love it. And I think it was because it gave me so much time with the characters. And really, if you take a series and put all of them together, that's kind of the same thing. But I have found that in the past few years that I actually prefer books that can get the story out in a shorter amount of time. I don't dislike longer books. I do think I like them to be shorter rather than longer. Number 16, long or short chapters. That one is for sure short chapters. I think I've said this on here before, or at least somewhere else, that 50 pages in one chapter feels so much longer than 50 pages over 5 or 10 chapters. While some of my favorite books do have long chapters, like Harry Potter, and that's not going to turn me off from a book or make me not enjoy a book, I do love short chapters. Number 17, name the first 3 books you think of. Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I'm sitting with those shelves facing me. Number 18, books that make you laugh or cry. I love books that can make me actually laugh out loud, because usually my laugh will be silent. It's just, oh, that was funny, but I'm not necessarily laughing. But a book that can make me cry, if I actually have tears in my eyes at least, but especially if they leave my eyes, then I know that book has really made me feel something. So I would say I prefer books that make me cry. Number 19, our world or fictional worlds. I think that when it really comes down to it, I prefer our world. Again, this is another one where I like both, but I think that even most of my favorite fantasies take place in our world and just have fantastical elements to it. So, our world. 20, audiobooks, yes or no? Yes. I don't listen to very many audiobooks because I don't have Audible right now. I did for a while. I don't have it anymore. And so occasionally I'll listen to one of the ones I already have. If I'm going to listen to something while I'm doing something else, it will usually be a podcast or a YouTube video. So I don't often listen to them anymore, but I do like them. Especially if they're done really well. I think that one of my favorite ones has been Echo. That one was a really good audiobook. 21, do you ever judge a book by its cover? Yes, I do. I think that most of us do. And if I'm buying a book, I will try to find my favorite cover for whatever one I'm buying. But it also won't make me not read a book. So I do think covers are really important, but the story is still more important. Number 22, book to movie or book to TV adaptations. I would prefer TV adaptations because I feel like that would give somebody more time to put as much of the book in the story as possible. But there just doesn't seem to be very many of them that I can think of right off the top of my head that I've loved that have been TV adaptations. Number 23, a movie or TV adaptation that you preferred more than the book. I have said that on here. I had a whole video about movie adaptations last spring, but the one that I think of immediately every single time is Austen Land. And it's been a long time since I've read that book, but I think that movie is really funny. And one year I read it and watched it right afterward, and I still liked the movie better. I have also recently discovered that I like the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society better than the book as well. Number 24, series or standalone. Again, another one that I like both. But there is something about a standalone where you know that once I read this book, I don't have to worry about waiting for something else to come out. However, once you read something that you love, it is fun to get more books in that series. So that's really hard. So I love books that are standalones, but I probably do like series more because most of my favorite books are in series. But I really don't like having to wait for them to come out. And also, you know what? The other thing that's hard about series is, especially when they're coming out right now, knowing if they're going to stay as good as previous books, if they're going to add things in that are going to ruin the whole entire series. That's happened recently with a few series that I like. Also, just hoping that they're not going to drag it out for too long. And so that makes it really hard to pick series, but I'll still say series, I guess. And number 25 is tag others. So I will tag, let's see, who have I? I'm going to tag Katrie and I'm going to tag Whitney. But if you're watching this and you want to do it, please do it and let me know if you do.